For someone who has taken power, the most frightening words do not always come as criticism from outside. The truly frightening words often rise from within. The seat you built may not last, and one day you may fall by the same pattern that made you win. After Cronus overthrew his father Uranus, he stood at the center of the Titan generation. He had once been a suppressed child, the son who lifted Gaia's anger in his mother's place. Now that the old rule of the sky had been cut away, the world might have become wider and gentler. But myth does not say that a change of power immediately changes the heart. Before Cronus, the new king, an odd silence settled. Everyone looked at him. The Titans found places inside the order he had made, and the earth seemed for a moment released from pressure. But a throne always tests the heart. The moment someone sits there, past pain easily becomes justice, and present anxiety easily becomes suspicion. Then the prophecy is heard. Cronus too would be overthrown by his own child. It sounds like a simple curse, but it is also the law the world has already learned returning to him. A father feared his children, and a child overthrew the father. If so, even after the son becomes king, the fear does not disappear. It only changes direction. When Cronus first heard those words, what kind of expression came over his face? It was the moment when future defeat rushed into a man who stood in victory. He must have remembered the hand that cut his father. The weight of the sickle, and even why Uranus had imprisoned his children, may suddenly have looked different. The fear of the father he did not want to understand was now beginning to move inside him. Prophecy is a cruel device. Before anything has happened, it shakes a person as if the event has already taken place. Before a child is even born, that child becomes a threat. A being who has not yet smiled, walked, or been called by name turns into an enemy inside the ruler's mind. This is the fear myth is showing us. The wish to escape the future begins to damage the present. To Cronus, a child was the name of possibility before it was an object of love. Possibility can be beautiful, but to someone holding power, it can look dangerous. Children keep growing. To grow means not remaining forever inside a parent's hand. One day they ask questions, make choices, and demand a place of their own. Cronus feared exactly that natural growth. He had not forgotten his own story. Rather, he remembered it too well. Because he knew how he had ended his father's order, he thought the generation after him could do the same thing. Here, memory does not become wisdom, it becomes vigilance. Experience can widen a person, but sometimes it builds a narrower and harder prison. The prophecy from Gaia and Uranus lodged in Cronus's heart like a seed. That seed grew very quickly. At first, it may have been the thought that he should be careful. Then it became the thought that he should watch. At last, it became certainty that he had to stop it. Fear always changes clothes this way. It calls itself defense and explains itself as protecting order. But an order made by fear cannot stay warm for long. Even if it looks calm on the outside, the fatigue of constantly suspecting someone gathers within it. Cronus became king, but he could not rest on the throne. What he believed he had to protect was not the world, but his own position, and he wanted to remove even the smallest possibility that might shake it. In this scene, myth shows us a very old face of power. Power can first appear in the name of ending oppression. But when that power clings only to protecting itself, it begins to resemble the old oppression. Cronus overthrew Uranus, but he did not end the fear of Uranus. Instead, he inherited that fear. This is also why the story feels uncomfortable. If the problem were only one evil person, the story would be simple. A bad king would disappear, a good king would come, and that would be the end. But myth does not close so easily. The problem is not only one person's character, but a structure that repeats when a heart with power meets fear. Cronus has not yet harmed his children, but a mind that is about to cross the line is already forming. From the moment he hears the prophecy, he begins to fight a future that has not yet been born. A person fighting the future cannot see the present face clearly. A child no longer looks like a child, and a wife no longer looks like a companion, but like a passage through which danger may be born. That is why Rhea's place is quiet but heavy. She is the spouse beside Cronus, and she will be the mother who carries the children to come. The prophecy does not shake Cronus alone. It changes the air inside one household and casts a shadow over lives not yet born. In myth, the anxiety of great power always darkens the lives of the nearest people first. What Cronus needed at that moment may not have been stronger force, but the ability to recognize the fear inside himself. But he does not take that path. People trying to avoid a prophecy usually fail to see the structure that made it. They do not ask why the father fell, or why the child had to take up the blade. They only try to prevent the same thing from happening to them. So this prophecy tells of a future event, but also holds up a mirror to Cronus's present. He has not fallen yet, but he has already begun to make the reason for his fall. People do not collapse only because of fate. Sometimes they fall deeper because of the method they grabbed in order to escape fate. If we think about it for a moment, this is a story of gods and also a very human story. When we fear losing what we have, we sometimes wound the most precious relationships first in order to protect it. We suspect the people we should love, press down the possibilities we should raise, and make present life cold while trying to prevent a misfortune that has not arrived. Cronus's tragedy is not that he heard a prophecy, it is what he chose to believe after hearing it. He began to believe that his children would certainly become enemies. He thought only that the next generation would take his place. But children are not born simply to preserve the position of their parents. Children are the force that moves the world again. When that force cannot be received as a blessing, a king becomes not a father, but a watcher. The home becomes a wall, not an embrace. Birth becomes a warning signal, not joy. That change begins inside Cronus's heart. The world is still quiet, but the quiet is not peace. It is closer to a held breath before a storm. The prophecy seems to speak of an ending, but in truth, it shows the beginning of repetition. Uranus feared his children, Cronus cut down his father, and now Cronus fears his own child. Through this repetition, myth asks whether someone who opens a new age can truly have a new heart. Can a person who believes he ended old violence also let go of the method of that violence? Cronus trembles before that question. He became king of the world, but not king of his own heart. The prophecy was not thunder rumbling far away. It was a sound growing inside his chest. And the moment he heard that sound only as fear, he was walking back into the shadow of the father he had defeated.